February 21st, 2026. At 0300 hours local time, the night shift supervisor at the Votkinsk Machine Building Plant in the Udmurt Republic poured his coffee, expecting a completely routine morning. This massive state-owned facility was the beating heart of the Russian strategic deterrence program, responsible for churning out Iskander ballistic missiles and nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missiles. Situated more than 1,400 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, the plant was considered an absolute sanctuary by military planners in Moscow. It was geographically insulated by multiple layers of integrated air defense systems, early warning radars, and sheer continental distance. The assembly workers inside believed they were completely untouchable, building weapons of destruction far beyond the reach of any conventional adversary. What they absolutely did not know was that their assumed immunity had an expiration date, and the countdown had already begun 2 hours earlier. At 0115 hours, deep inside Ukrainian territory, a battery of domestically produced Flamingo cruise missiles roared off their concealed mobile launchers, piercing the night sky before immediately pitching down to tree level. The Flamingo was a heavily guarded secret, a low, observable, autonomous strike weapon designed specifically for extreme range penetration. Unlike traditional drones that rely on easily jammed satellite navigation, the Flamingo utilizes an inertial navigation system paired with optical terrain contour matching. It functions exactly like a pilot flying visually by comparing the rivers, hills, and highways below with a high-resolution map stored in its memory. This makes the weapon virtually immune to electronic warfare. Once it drops to an altitude of 30 meters, it vanishes from long-range radar, becoming a ghost in the machine programmed to thread the needle entirely through hostile Russian airspace without emitting a single radio frequency signal. The math governing this strike was incredibly brutal and unforgiving. To cover 1,400 kilometers at a cruising speed of 850 kilometers per hour, the Flamingo missiles had to survive more than 100 minutes inside highly contested hostile airspace. They crossed the border in a dispersed formation, immediately entering the engagement envelope of multiple Russian surface-to-air missile batteries. A radar operator in the Belgorod region stared at his glowing displays, watching the sweeping green line of his search radar. His system was calibrated to detect high-altitude fighters and massive ballistic threats falling from the stratosphere. Searching for a composite material cruise missile hugging the Earth at 30 meters is like trying to spot a single black bird flying low over a dark forest at midnight. The operator saw nothing but ground clutter, completely unaware that multiple warheads had just slipped past his designated defensive sector. This audacious penetration was unfolding against a backdrop of hardened geopolitical gridlock. Just days earlier, the third round of peace negotiations brokered by the United States had concluded in Switzerland. Like the previous diplomatic sessions held in Abu Dhabi, which officials had desperately labeled as constructive, the talks ended with absolutely no breakthrough. As the fourth anniversary of the conflict rapidly approached, the Ukrainian military was demonstrating a severe shift in strategic doctrine. If diplomatic channels could not secure their cities from relentless bombardment, they would systematically dismantle the industrial nodes, sustaining the aggression from the inside out. The strike package was not just a tactical maneuver, it was a physical message delivered at 850 kilometers per hour, proving that the geographical buffer Russia relied upon to protect its military-industrial complex simply did not exist anymore in this new era of warfare. As the flight path pushed deeper into the Russian interior, the Ukrainian strike package began to execute a complex separation maneuver. A secondary detachment of munitions banked sharply to the southeast, adjusting their vector toward the Samara region. Their designated target was a massive gas processing plant, a critical node in the energy infrastructure fueling the Russian war machine. Coordinating a simultaneous split strike deep inside enemy territory without active data links requires flawless pre-flight programming. The navigational computers had to calculate wind drift, fuel consumption, and terrain masking for two completely different geographical routes. The main element of Flamingo missiles maintained their primary heading toward Votkinsk, their optical sensors constantly matching the snowy terrain below with their internal maps, making micro-course corrections in complete radio silence to ensure they stayed perfectly hidden within the radar shadows of the Ural foothills. The regional air traffic control network showed zero anomalies as the weapons pushed further east. Commercial flights were actively rerouted around known military zones, but the low-altitude airspace remained entirely unmonitored by civilian authorities. The Flamingo missiles were now 800 kilometers deep, operating far past the limits of what Russian generals believed was theoretically possible for a domestically produced Ukrainian system. They were flying entirely emission silent. Their cold airframes radiated very little heat, and their radar cross-sections were equivalent to small birds. The vast Russian integrated air defense network, designed to repel massive formations of strategic bombers, was fundamentally ill-equipped to handle a swarm of autonomous terrain-hugging cruise missiles that refused to broadcast any signals. Back in the Udmurt Republic, the local air defense network finally detected an anomaly that shattered the quiet morning. At 0310 hours, a short-range Pantsir battery guarding the Votkinsk facility picked up intermittent contacts on its search radar. The signatures were incredibly faint, popping up and disappearing behind the local topography, closing in at a truly terrifying speed. The Pantsir system is an incredibly capable point defense platform, armed with twin 30mm autocannons and surface-to-air missiles, but it requires a stable track to compute a firing solution. Against actual cruise missiles flying deliberately in the clutter, it was struggling immensely. The operator stared at his display as the fire control solution flickered wildly. Lock acquired, lock lost, lock degraded. He was trying to catch a bullet in the dark, and the targets were intentionally utilizing the factory's surrounding hills to mask their final, devastating approach vector. The Pantsir commander had mere seconds to process the geometry of the incoming threat, and the math was entirely against him. The contacts were bearing down on the missile assembly buildings from multiple vectors, saturating his defensive perimeter. He initiated the firing sequence, but acquiring a continuous tracking lock on a terrain-hugging composite missile moving at over 200 meters per second proved nearly impossible. He had one system, two guns, and multiple targets closing in simultaneously. The guns can only point in one direction at a time. Slewing from one target to another takes 2 seconds, and acquiring a stable firing solution takes another 1.5 seconds. A burst sufficient to ensure destruction requires 3 seconds of sustained fire. The total engagement cycle of 6.5 seconds per target meant he physically did not have enough time to shoot down the entire swarm before they crossed the minimum engagement threshold of his weapon system. The facility that built the very weapons terrorizing Ukrainian cities was now staring down the barrel of its own destruction. The first Flamingo missile breached the final defensive ring, its onboard targeting camera identifying the unique thermal and structural signature of the primary manufacturing hall. The onboard computer cross referenced the live feed with its stored imagery, confirming the target with absolute mathematical certainty. The Pantsir commander watched his radar screen helplessly as the first contact merged with the exact coordinates of the state-owned factory. There was no time to issue an evacuation order, no time to sound the alarms, and absolutely no way to stop the kinetic energy about to be unleashed. The assembly workers, who had started their shift believing they were protected by 1,400 kilometers of impenetrable Russian airspace, were about to discover that distance was no longer a shield against the technological evolution of modern war. At 0311 hours, the Pantsir operator inside the Votkinsk defensive perimeter realized his complete tracking failure. The twin 30mm autocannons were sweeping the dark sky, burning through hundreds of rounds of high explosive incendiary ammunition in blind, desperate bursts. But shooting at a ghost creates a mathematical impossibility. The Flamingo missiles were flying at an altitude of just 30 meters, using the massive factory buildings themselves as physical shields against the engagement radar. Every time the system attempted to establish a continuous lock, the incoming contact would dip behind a reinforced concrete structure, instantly breaking the radar return. The commander had exactly 12 seconds before the primary target was reached, and he was completely out of options. He watched his digital display as the faint red icons representing the Ukrainian weapons continuously slipped through his designated kill zones without taking any damage. While the air defense crews in the Udmurt Republic were engaged in a futile battle against invisible targets, the secondary detachment of the strike package was executing its terminal dive over the Samara region. These specialized munitions had navigated hundreds of additional kilometers, utilizing the same terrain masking and emissions silent flight profiles to completely evade detection by regional air traffic control networks. Their objective was a massive gas processing plant, a facility fundamentally critical to refining the energy resources that financially and logistically sustain the Russian armed forces on the front lines. The navigational computers inside these secondary missiles had calculated wind drift and fuel consumption perfectly, ensuring they arrived at their designated target window simultaneously with the primary Votkinsk strike. The Russian command structure was facing a coordinated multi-vector strategic attack. This highly sophisticated double strike arrived at a highly critical moment on the international stage. perfectly timed just days after highly anticipated diplomatic negotiations completely collapsed. Officials representing Moscow and Kyiv had recently concluded their third round of intensive peace talks in Switzerland, a high-stakes summit heavily brokered by the United States government. Following earlier sessions held in Abu Dhabi that international diplomats had desperately tried to frame as constructive, this latest round yielded absolutely zero tangible progress. With the fourth anniversary of the grinding conflict rapidly approaching, the battlefield reality was completely detached from the diplomatic posturing. The Ukrainian military leadership recognized that sitting at a negotiating table without overwhelming leverage was entirely futile. If the Russian government would not halt its offensive operations through diplomacy, Ukraine would systematically dismantle them. At 03:15 hours, the Samara detachment struck the vulnerable distillation columns and storage infrastructure of the gas processing plant. The resulting inferno sent towering flames hundreds of meters into the freezing air, immediately triggering automated emergency protocols across the regional energy grid. In a desperate attempt to secure the airspace and prevent further penetrations, the Russian military command immediately ordered the temporary closure of several commercial airports throughout the surrounding regions. Grounding civilian aviation was a stark public admission that their integrated air defense network had been critically compromised by weapons launched over 1,400 kilometers away. The sanctuary of the deep Russian interior had been decisively shattered by a nation they believed possessed no long-range strike capability. But the most devastating blow of the morning was still seconds away from landing. Back in the Udmurt Republic, the lead Flamingo missile initiated its final attack geometry. The onboard computer cross-referenced the live optical feed with its stored imagery, confirming the target with absolute mathematical certainty. It recognized the precise structural dimensions of the Votkinsk Machine Building Plant, specifically identifying the primary manufacturing hall where the highly classified Iskander ballistic missiles and nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missiles were actively being assembled. The missile pitched down into a steep, unrecoverable dive, accelerating toward the reinforced roof of the facility. The Pantsir commander stared at his radar screen in utter disbelief as the contact merged perfectly with the center mass of the state-owned factory. There was absolutely no time to issue an evacuation order, no time to sound the alarms, and no way to stop the kinetic energy about to be unleashed upon the unsuspecting workers. The kinetic energy of the impact was immediately followed by the detonation of the high-explosive fragmentation warhead, punching a massive hole directly through the assembly hall roof. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then the highly volatile rocket propellant and sensitive missile components stored on the factory floor violently cooked off in a cascading chain reaction. Residents across Votkinsk captured unprecedented footage of the blast wave, which completely blew out windows in residential blocks kilometers away. Thick pillars of black smoke rose ominously as local officials, including the regional head, took to the Telegram messaging platform to confirm the unprecedented drone attack. The Telegram news channel Astra quickly corroborated that the state-owned ballistic missile plant was the primary target. The factory that built the weapons to destroy Ukraine was now burning to the ground, exactly 1,400 kilometers from the border. At 03:20 hours, the Regional Air Defense Coordination Center in Yekaterinburg devolved into absolute chaos. The duty officer stared at the integrated tracking displays, watching the catastrophic damage reports flooding in from the Udmurt Republic. The realization of what had just occurred was far more terrifying than the explosion itself. The Flamingo missiles had successfully navigated more than 1,400 kilometers of what was supposed to be the most heavily defended airspace on the entire planet. The mathematical implications were instantly devastating for the Russian high command. If a domestically produced Ukrainian drone could accurately strike the Votkinsk Machine Building Plant, then every single military installation, oil refinery, and logistics hub located west of the Ural Mountains was now officially an active target. The geographical sanctuary that Moscow had relied upon for 3 years of relentless warfare had evaporated in exactly 100 minutes. Simultaneously, the situation in the Samara region was rapidly deteriorating into a logistical nightmare. The targeted gas processing plant was a critical node in a massive energy network. As the distillation columns burned uncontrollably, emergency valves automatically shut down pipelines, severing the flow of fuel to military depots hundreds of kilometers away. The economic disparity of the engagement was truly staggering to comprehend. The Ukrainian military had expended a handful of Flamingo missiles, each costing roughly $250,000 to manufacture. In return, they had completely paralyzed an infrastructure node worth hundreds of millions of dollars, while simultaneously halting the production of Iskander ballistic missiles valued at over $3 million per unit at the Votkinsk facility. The return on investment for this precision strike package was completely unprecedented, proving that strategic ingenuity could economically cripple sheer industrial mass. The true strategic victory for Ukraine was not just the physical destruction of the manufacturing halls and refining columns, but the impossible dilemma it forced upon the Russian Ministry of Defense. Before this morning, the vast majority of advanced Russian surface-to-air missile systems, including the highly capable S-400 and Buk M3 batteries, were heavily concentrated along the active front lines to suppress Ukrainian aviation. Now the Kremlin faced a crippling geographical nightmare. Russia spans over 17 million square kilometers. To protect their critical interior infrastructure from low-altitude, terrain-hugging autonomous threats, they would have to physically withdraw hundreds of air defense systems from the combat zone and scatter them across the vast expanse of the motherland. Every single radar dish pulled back to guard a factory in the Udmurt Republic meant one less radar dish tracking Ukrainian movements on the actual battlefield. By 0600 hours, the fires at the Votkinsk Machine Building Plant and the Samara gas facility were still burning out of control, casting a dark shadow over the Russian military-industrial complex. The local workers who survived the initial detonations stood outside the defensive perimeter, watching the absolute destruction of their supposedly untouchable sanctuary. The psychological blow was just as devastating as the physical damage to the assembly lines. For 3 years, the narrative dictated that the deep Russian interior was entirely safe from the consequences of the conflict. The Flamingo cruise missiles shattered that illusion at 850 kilometers per hour. The Ukrainian military had completely bypassed the deadlocked diplomatic negotiations in Switzerland, opting instead to deliver a kinetic message that could not be ignored. They had fundamentally rewritten the operational map, proving that in modern warfare, there is absolutely nowhere left to hide.